your career going forward, starting in Georgia Southern. There's a dealio that you were a college football field place kicker. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was it's definitely a wild story. I didn't go to school by any means to play football, so that was definitely one for the books. But it was just before Thanksgiving break, and obviously we were done with soccer, and sorry to my parents, but we were actually having a little party celebrating before we went back home, and I got a phone call from my coach asking me to be at the football field the next morning because the football team was looking for a kicker to take with them to the playoffs because their kicker hadn't been doing too well in the last couple games. And so, I tried to, let my parents know and what was going on. I showed up the next day, took a couple of, field goals, took a couple of, kickoffs and a couple of live plays, some dead balls, and they decided that they were going to take me to North Dakota with them. And, it was a crazy experience just, not having ever been, played football at that level. I played a little bit in high school, but nothing like that. So to be in that environment was crazy. With the school having such a rich history and winning championships. So it was wild. It was, nothing I ever expected, but yeah, man, it was cool. I got to, be on ESPN and, wear the football gear and do that. So unfortunately, so I'll go back. We were down, and I hadn't taken a kick all game, not an extra point, not a kickoff, anything, just kind of standing there on the sidelines, looking weird, I guess. Very uncomfortable. And it comes down to, we have a chance to tie it up, and the coach is like, "Ruggles, you're in." And I'm like, "This Ruggles, like this guy, all right." I don't have too much invested in the team. Having just joined 2 to 3 days before, but obviously I still wanted to do my best. So I go out there. The other team calls a timeout. I believe they were trying to ice me, but when you've never been in that situation, it's pretty hard to ice somebody. So we went back. The coach tells me, he's like, "Look, man, just put your head down, get your steps right, do your thing." And I went in there and I was confident. I'd hit a couple of field goals at halftime and before the game that were easily over 50, pushing over 60, a couple of them, and so I felt confident with the range. But sure enough, they hike the ball. I go through my steps, and as soon as I pick my head up after I kick the ball, the guy on the end is like fully extended, just the football is in his stomach. Like, I wasn't even close to getting it off in time. And
oh shit.
Yeah, so I went from being like could be superhero for the school and give him this special moment to go play for another national championship. But that's life, man. It was, like I said, it was a great experience, but I had my shot at football fame and fell a little bit short. So that's that story. Definitely a good one. Not a lot of people know that.
So I'm having a little bit of a cramp in my neck, so I'm moving around a little bit. So the interesting story that I wanted to share with you is you may or may not know that Julie V is a very close friend of mine, and I'm sure when you come into San Diego, there will be opportunities for you to meet him at different occasions. But if you haven't already, you might have met him when you guys were here in San Diego for the finals, because he was in that lineup. Congratulations you guys. But Julie V is actually in the Los Angeles Rams media guide as a place kicker when Dick Vermeil coached the Los Angeles Rams back in the early 70s.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Right. So, I mean, he didn't actually make the team as far as, making the final cut. So he didn't play during the season. But when they published the media guide, he's got a copy of the media guide, and Julie V is a place kicker for the Los Angeles Rams.
That's too funny.
So when I read that in your bio, I just wanted to share that with you because that's a cool little thing. when you meet him, you might want to mention that because that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty easy transition to go from soccer to place kicking. But I mean, there's
right.
a couple little tweaks, but I mean, if you're looking for somebody to strike a ball, it's definitely a soccer player.
No
So.
doubt about it. Well, and the NFL went through that transition back in the day because back in the day, all of their place kickers were straight on kickers. You know,
Yep.
they weren't soccer style kickers, and then they went through that transition where the soccer style kicker became the place kicker for the team. I mean, that's now, that's now how the game is played.
Yeah.
All right. So you got out of college, and I mean, I know you played in some outdoor activity, but I want to jump. I want to kind of jump into the indoor career. Your first team was the Baltimore Blast. Is that right?
Yeah. Very fortunate to have started my career off at, a club like them and be able to learn a lot from, DK and, at the time, Pat was still there, Adriano.
That's right.
All those guys, so definitely very fortunate to, have started out there. But yeah, man, that was close to home and, I've got family that lives in Maryland. So it was nice to be able to, start out and get my foot in the indoor game kind of close to home.
Well, and then you go to Milwaukee, and I mean, you made an impact. I'm not saying you didn't make an impact in Baltimore, but you made an impact in Milwaukee, and there was a chemistry in Milwaukee with you guys. I mean, Ian Bennett being there, a lot of the players that you guys seem to gel really well in Milwaukee.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was, having come from Baltimore, playing in a final, having played against those guys that first year. Like you said, I didn't really play that many games my rookie year and was much more of a learning season for me as opposed to anything else, which I think helped me, as you spoke on, make a, have an impact in Milwaukee.
Right.
And speaking of, the friendships and the camaraderie and the brotherhood, man, like that's what made that team so successful during those, the years that I was there and was able to enjoy. I mean, man, the chemistry was, playing with Jiggy, Josh Lemo. Sorry, I don't know if everybody knows who Jiggy is. But I mean, it's the type of thing where you pass the ball and as long as you move, where you're supposed to, the ball's coming back to you. So it was, and obviously I'm still friends with a lot of those guys. I talk to Ian almost every week. He's the homie. So yeah, man, it was crazy. It was a lot of fun. We always joked around that practice was harder than games just because we trained so hard and put the work in that come game time, if we did it the way we were supposed to, we had a pretty good chance. So man, yeah, it was a fantastic time in Milwaukee. I mean, once again, another great club to play for if you're, in regards to indoor soccer. So coming from Baltimore, playing in a final, going to Milwaukee, being a part of that project and finishing with the championship with those guys was, something you never forget.
Well, and two legendary brands. I mean, both of those brands have been around for years. And so there's a lot of history behind both of those teams. And so that was a really, really cool time to watch you play. And I mean, I think that's when I first really, when you hit my radar is that time when you were playing in Milwaukee, I think is when you hit my radar. Yeah, some success on the field. You guys had a great team. And like I said, the chemistry was obvious. Yeah. All right. So then you go to Florida. Okay. Now Florida is putting together. Florida doesn't have that legendary brand. The Florida Tropics didn't have that legendary brand, but they're bringing in superstars. And I mean, just stacking the deck. And one of the things that just was like a question for me was how well is the coaching staff going to be able to get these guys, bringing in an all-star team and putting them together and having them gel together and get that field, that team camaraderie, that chemistry together. And Roberts put it together, didn't he?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was, coming off a championship in Milwaukee, there was a lot of things going through my mind being a free agent. And actually, shout out Gordy Gerson hit me up and was like, look, man, what do we need to do to make it happen? Nice. So I can't even speak about the creation of the Florida Tropics, over the last 4 years without even throwing his name in.
Nice.
'Cause it did have a big part to do. I mean, the guy was on the phone calling everybody. But yeah, man, I would have loved to have stayed in Milwaukee. But I think just the idea of having a new challenge and being able to solidify myself as a top player in the league, those opportunities don't come by very often. And so I kind of after conversations with Clay, I just I jumped at the opportunity. It's actually funny because I was also speaking with San Diego at the time. And so it was between San Diego and Florida at that time.
I don't think anybody knows that except for you and the guys on the phone.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, fast forward, been a long time coming. But yeah, man, the thing about us in Florida, we all came down there with a common goal, and that was to win. Those first 2 years were fantastic. I mean, the guys all bought in. Nobody came in and was like, "Hey, look, this is my team. I've done X, Y, Z." It was, "Look, we're all good players. For this to work, we have to buy in." That coupled with, almost 2 months of preseason, which will definitely make an impact on the field. I think that was the biggest difference. Obviously, we had the quality. We were always going to be able to compete, but it was a matter of competing consistently and competing at a high level. And, for the most part, I think we did that. So yeah, man, what a time in Florida. Once again, I'm forever grateful to the opportunities I've had, the teams that I've been able to play for. But yeah, man, it was fun.
So it's pretty interesting. So when I look back at different sports, all kinds of different sports, you kind of see teams building up to a crescendo. And that's what I was kind of seeing in Florida. I mean, you guys came together, then you guys got to playoff spots, get to the semifinals and lose, get to the finals and lose, and then it was like it's like, what's next? Is Florida that next team that's going to just come through and just bust through the doors? Sonora, Chihuahua, San Diego, Kansas City, Milwaukee. I mean, there's so many quality teams out there. And once you guys, Empire, I mean, once you guys get to those semifinals, especially the semifinals, and it's one of the things, one of my loves of this particular league and sport, mostly this league really, is that once you get to the semifinals, all four teams are just kicking the ass teams. I mean, and the competition, I mean, you can see it on the field. And you were making a comment earlier about your relationship with Ian and your relationship with Gordy, and it's a small community, and you guys all know each other, and you play, and throughout the course of your careers, you play against each other, you play as teammates, throughout the course of trades and whatever. And it makes for a great relationship back and forth. And it's fun because as a fan watching it from the field or from the stands, and knowing some of that, I think some of the most interesting matchups on the field are when it's two guys that know and like each other and are friends.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. That's bragging rights, man. After the game,
right? And so now all holds barred. We're going forward against each other, and that's some of the most fun activity on the field is when you see these guys come together as opposition, knowing that off the field you guys are absolute bros.
Oh yeah. It's definitely it's a weird dynamic, but I will say about 90% of my friends love the healthy competition. So leading up to game day, man, it's text back and forth like, "Hey man, you're not scoring," or "Man, you can't stop me. You haven't stopped me for the last 5 years," like type of situation. So it's all good and fun, and obviously, you win some, you lose some, and that's part of the game as well. But yeah, man, there's life outside of soccer, and making those friendships and being able to compete with guys that you call brothers is awesome. So yeah, man, I love it. Especially, the two guys that you mentioned is always fun. Gordy, king of the flop, and Ian Bennett.
You
wants to
said
dance
that.
on. Oh yeah, I'll tell him to his face too. He knows, you know. And then you got Ian who wants to dance on everybody. So
Yeah.
if he has a game where he's not dancing, then you've done your job. So I don't know that I've played against him where he hasn't danced. So I've still got some work to do.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very cool. All right. So now, unfortunately, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, unfortunately, things in Florida, things in Lakeland didn't work out behind the scenes and for the venue and whatever the politics might be that we don't know about
Yeah.
are irrelevant. The big issue that hurts my heart is that the team is not going to have a team this season. And a lot of you guys have been, a lot of the guys, the players from that team have been catching contracts around the league and being picked up by different teams around the league. And you're coming to San Diego, and San Diego has a pretty solid defensive backfield. How are you going to play with Pino and all of those guys? Do you know these guys well? Have you played with them, or just as a competitor?
A little bit of both. You know, I have the experience of playing with a handful of those guys through the indoor national team, through the mini football
Right.
national team. You know, played against them a handful of times. Obviously, you know, in this league, you watch film if you want to be successful. So I've seen them time and time again. And obviously, it's a similar situation for me, kind of. Looking at it as I'm going into a club where there's already a ton of talent. They've already established themselves as being a top dog, and so it's not really about me going in and trying to stamp my foot down or show who I am. It's about me fitting into what they've already got going on and helping as best I can so that we can lift championships until I'm done playing. So I'm not really too concerned about how it will work out because I know that at the end of the day that it will.
Right.
The group has they're one of the most talented rosters when you look on paper, and then they back it up on the field. So, I'll always, vote on myself as far as, skills and my ability in the game. And so I think that it's just going to complement it. Like I said, I'm really not concerned about missing shifts or not getting goals or assists or whatever those things are, because I've done that and I've had that. For me, it's about winning, and it's about winning with the Sockers. And so whatever that looks like, less shifts, more shifts, not starting, none of that matters to me. At the end of the day, it's, I'm there to get the job done. So I'm excited, man. I want to play with all these guys. I'm tired of battling against them. It's, it'll be fun to play with these guys,
Are there any players on the team, defensive, offensive, midfield, whatever? Are there any players on the team that you already have a good personal friendship relationship with?
My guy is Boris, man. That's my
Nice.
guy.
I love Boris.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a defender goalie connection that we just, inherently we're gonna be friends. But yeah, he's a great dude. That's probably who I'm closest with on the team. But obviously, I'm friends with Tavoy. Not just from playing with him in TST, but playing against him in the league, back when he was on the East Coast and stuff. Having just played TST with Costa, there's a handful of guys there that I would consider friends. But I'm looking forward to getting to know them, a little bit better as teammates and people off the field. So it's exciting all around, man. I'm looking forward to it.
So let's talk a little about, you just brought it up. Good, perfect segue. Let's talk a little bit about TST. How is that tournament? I mean, coming out of nowhere. I mean, It wasn't anything, nobody knew anything about it. It was a first time thing, $1 million on the line. And the NASL, I mean, not just your guys' squad, but the NASL overall just represented so solid. And then, like I said earlier, you're kind of the $1 million man in my book.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, man, the tournament was one of the craziest events I've ever been a part of. I mean, just from start to finish, our team went, a little bit early. We were our motto going throughout was we were the first team here. We're going to be the last team to leave.
Nice.
So I missed the first couple of days of training, but was still there before most of the teams. And I mean, the Newtown Pride guys, all the way up from Big Mike, the guy who runs it, all the way down to, Obasi being our coach. It was fantastic. What an experience. I couldn't speak enough about it. Like you said, it was kind of this unknown thing until it happened. And then it kind of took off. So it's crazy because you go into those tournaments, you're always like, yeah, I'm going to win. I want to win. That's why I'm going. But you never know. And anybody who plays indoor has played 1,000, cash prize tournaments in the off season. So it's nothing new to us, these types of tournaments, but we've never played for $1 million. So we're all like, yeah, what the hell? Like, all right, let's go. So, we knew coming in that we would kind of have an advantage being heavily indoor guys, having the same mindset, the same idea and style of how we should play kind of, and then just, critiquing it here and there based on the opponent. But I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, we showed up and that first game we got kicked in the teeth a little bit. Most people don't know this too. I mean, well, they know it if they watched, but it's definitely not on the front of their minds considering how the tournament ended for me. Right. But I actually gave up the own goal in our only loss in that first game. Yeah.
Oh, wow,
and there's like a breakdown of it where like shoots the free kick, it hits off my foot, and I like turn around. You can see me like throw my hands on my head, like,
yeah,
seriously, like $1 million tournament. That's the time you want to score.
What a turnaround! What a turnaround from start to finish, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I was very happy with how it all ended. Man, my mom and dad were there to celebrate with me on the field. So it was amazing. You never, like I said, you never really think that you're going to be the one in that position at the end. You always hope for that, and you kind of think that that's going to happen, but you got to play the game. And so to make it through everything after how it started and to get to that point and be able to get my 5 minutes of fame with the assist and to just give the MASL, give Newtown Pride a little shout and show some of those guys that were ex-professionals and ex-national team guys, like, look, man, I know we might not be making as much money as you guys, but we can ball too. Like, we're not just playing indoor over 30s league. Like, this isn't what the average soccer American knows as indoor. It's like a lot of us could be playing at that top level. We've just all got our excuses, I'll call them, or things that happen that kept us from reaching that. But man, we know how to play the game too. So it was nice to see that. The indoor teams were able to make a big impact. Obviously with Vita, being in the mix, that was kind of our big, we had our eyes on them and looking at them, and I won't say lucky for us that they went out, but I mean, that was who we were expecting to be our biggest competition. Right. And it just so worked out, once they were knocked out, we were kind of like, oh shit, this is kind of ours to take, looking at the other teams. Like, if we, do what we've been doing these last couple games and, stick to our possession base, make the other team chase, we'll be all right. And, it worked out for us in the end. And like I said, man, what a time. I'm sure you've seen celebrations and the videos.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. One of the, I won't say a top memory for me for soccer, but it's definitely up there.
So do you think, or how do you think it's going to play out as a tournament going forward? Are we going to see this every year or every 4 years, or how do you think that's going to happen?
Well, I know next year is going to happen. So I would assume that they would keep it going every year. But man, I hope they come back. I hope they keep coming back. I think with doing it in Cary, they kind of got a little taste of what it can be. And I mean, just imagine moving that to a city like, in LA or New York or, in Atlanta, it's going to blow up. It's all, also the first time anything is done is usually the easiest time to win it. So I imagine, next year, some teams are probably looking like, man, these guys can't, these guys aren't that good. Let's put our team in, So, so it'll definitely be a lot better competition, I think. I think you'll see a couple more big names as far as, speaking on who we saw at the last tournament, all the guys that were there, ex-national team players. I think that some people will see this actually as a money-making opportunity and not just a branding or a networking thing. And I think you'll see a little more serious side to the play and not so much, you know, not throwing any teams out there, but some teams were definitely there to party a little bit more than they were to play.
Yeah, well, I think that happens. I think that happens in most tournaments. You get some squads that are really serious about it, and others that are just there for the play.
Yeah,
So one of the things that I thought was interesting was that during the TST, you had international squads coming in, Wrexham and others, that came in with their brand, with their team brand. And none of the MASL teams, although the MASL talent was all over the place, there was no MASL team that branded themselves for the competition. And I'm wondering if as this competition moves forward and evolves, if maybe some of these MASL squads might decide to brand themselves on top of the teams that they put together in the TST.
Yeah,
have you thought about that?
Yeah, I think it was, obviously a missed opportunity. I won't go too deep into, that everyone kind of has their own opinions on what could have or should have been done.
Sure.
I think we can all agree that it just should have been done differently.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, what a big opportunity to kind of, miss out on from, just a branding perspective, like you're talking about. I mean, you had 40 guys from the league in there. And speaking just from my personal experience, my team, X team, Florida Tropics, didn't even post about it until the semis. So it's like, I think a lot of teams, I don't know if it was lack of awareness, lack of awareness.
Taking it seriously, maybe. I mean, maybe a lack of taking it seriously.
It's kind of baffling to me that they didn't really use it as a league that wants to be growing. What an opportunity. You've got big names, you've got big brands, and you've got 15 guys from your league that won it.
Right.
And even then, I think I don't know how, I'm sure you're aware of the King's Cup.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to ask you about that. I'm going to be up there in 2 weeks.
I think that they're trying to kind of catch up or make amends or something in regards to, partnering and doing this, which I think it's fantastic. Shout out to Frank for doing his thing. Guy's a legend. It's really, really cool what he does, for the community, not just King's Cup. I mean, outside of it, if you've ever had a conversation with him,
I know Frank pretty well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's awesome what he's doing, but you see, the fact that he is partnering with the league is fantastic. The fact that there is opportunity for somebody to get invited to the combine. It's all these things that you want to see as a player, you want to see as a fan that are just promoting the league. I love the league. I play in it. Obviously, there's things that, we could talk another hour about the things that, we all know, but I love the league. It's given me the ability to play soccer and perform on a stage that otherwise I wouldn't be given. So, there's tons of things the league could improve on, but man, I mean, it's good to see that at least these things are happening. Whether they're going to continue to happen, it's things like this that will help put the league on the map. There's still people in the U.S. who don't know that there even is an indoor soccer league. So now if you're getting into these, these cash prize tournaments where you've got people from all over the country flying in who realize like, hey, we don't have to just play cash tournaments. I could go and play and be on a salary in most places and get taken care of, and compete and play the game, not just on a Sunday. So it's great to see the league partner with him and be on board for this. But, circling back to the TST, yeah, man, I think there was a couple of teams that did pretty well with at least recognizing, their own players. But as a whole, I mean, at the very least, hindsight, put an MASL All-Star team, call it whatever you want, and throw it in. Now, obviously, as individual owners, you kind of saw Phil take, partner with Vita and very heavily San Diego influenced. But yeah, what an opportunity for an indoor team to go and compete, alongside the likes of, once again, we're talking about brands, not necessarily the players, but Dortmund, Wrexham, Apoel Tel Aviv. You've got, it's an opportunity I don't think that they want to miss out on again, and I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
But yeah, man, it was crazy. It was one of those things I was kind of waiting to see something pop off on the internet from the league and from, specifically for me, Florida Tropics, but it just didn't happen at the scale that, we thought. Obviously, a couple other, people who are supporters of the league, I've spoken with them and even they're just, kind of taken back by how themselves covering it boosted their own, platforms.
Absolutely.
And it's like, well, someone who's got less of a following with that sees that kind of impact. You would think that the league would that'd be a no-brainer, but yeah, that's kind of.
So Drew, are you in Florida right now?
Yeah, still in Florida.
Okay, so
just,
are you coming to Southern California for the King's Cup? Are you going to be part of that?
Yes, I am. I'll be on the Newtown Pride squad again.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. So. Well, I'll see you up there. What about the American national team going to the World Mini Football World Cup?
Yeah, we got a couple of dates coming up with some friendlies and a training camp just before we head out to the UAE. But yeah, it's always a great time. We just came back from Slovakia and winning the EMF Nations games.
I know, that was pretty fun.
It was awesome. But once again, that speaks to playing with a lot of these guys. Boris was the goalie there, so he and I have already that familiarity. But yeah, man, I mean that's coming off of that and winning that, it's got us all pretty excited to head out for the World Cup. We obviously haven't done too hot, in the last edition out there in Australia, but this is just another opportunity for us to go and show what we can do. I mean, if the Nations games in Slovakia are any type of preview of what we can do at the World Cup, I think we're in a good spot. Obviously, with the Mexican team and the Brazilian team, having a lot of heavy indoor teams as well. Those are the teams that we're going to be looking out for. But yeah, man.
So when you were in Europe this summer, the Czech Republic was part of that tournament, weren't they?
Yes.
And that's always been a really solid squad.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, that's who we lost to in Australia to knock us out.
Right.
Yeah. So they've always put together a good squad. What's kind of interesting about the way they play mini football, specifically the teams that we've played against and kind of studied, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, they play a very different style compared to how we play. We bring a heavy indoor influence. And in recent years, we haven't been able to use the goalie freely.
Oh.
And so in a lot of those countries, that's how they play. They'll bring the goalie up and they'll play as, a sixth attacker every time they have the ball. Where we don't really do that so much. We want to draw you out close to our goal and create the space, behind you. And so a lot of the teams will press. They'll try to press us thinking that we're not really going to know how to do it. But it's like, that's exactly what we want. So thank you for pressing us.
Yes.
But it's really interesting watching all those teams play that very similar style. And I think that's what really gave us the advantage over there, was that we don't play that style. We are fast paced. I won't say traditional American style, pace and power, but that is something we have in our repertoire. And so we would be dumb not to use it. So, I mean, clearly we have the foot skill and the ability, and it was just the whole package came together, man. And we went out there and we did our thing.
Well, and I think it also put a little bit of a stamp to the mini football community that the USA is there. I mean, as you said, in the past, with the exception of 2015 when it was indoors, with boards and stuff, with the exception of that, the USA team has not gone to as far as I think a lot of us expected them to go. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Right. And I think that tournament kind of, made a little bit of a statement, being that you guys were clearly not in your own environment, playing against these teams overseas, and then being able to take that tournament, I think made a little bit of a statement, kind of a punch card to what to expect come up in UAE for the World Cup.
Oh yeah. It was a unique time having been with the national team for for a couple of tournaments and games, a couple of years now. It was a completely different group than we've ever had, and it was amazing to see them come together. There's a lot of young talent from the league that was in. And once again, it was kind of same story. When you've got talent like that, the group has to buy in, and we got a great leader in Craig Rodas, who's got leaps and bounds of knowledge as far as the indoor game goes. And he's just one of those guys who commands respect without having to say a word. And
that's awesome.
And so it was really easy to play for him. It was really easy to get behind him, and you just saw everyone buy in. I mean, once again, you're talking about guys who've won championships, guys who are 5-time MVPs. You've got a star-studded list of players on that team, and I mean, we didn't have any practice leading up to that. We got on a flight, flew across the ocean, and drove from Bratislavia across the border into Bratislavia and stayed in a hostel and woke up and did our thing, man. It was like you said, we were definitely out of our comfort zone, out of our environment. But once again, common goal, hard work and the results can happen. So it was amazing. It was awesome. I still got that medal sitting on my nightstand.
Nice. Well, it's going to be interesting because with the Kings Cup and then the WMF World Cup, and then right after that, the MASL season starts.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we're right there. I mean, we're literally right there. I mean, it's all on task. The calendar is in your face right now.
Yeah,
and we're all on task, and we've got a lot of things going on. And it's been a fun summer. I mean, it's been a fun summer indoor, not just indoors, not just futsal, not just mini football, but the outdoor game too. I mean, with the Women's World Cup, the Leagues Cup.
I was going to say Messi came to the U.S., man. That's been something to watch.
And Messi doing what he's doing? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, what a script. I mean, who could write this guy? It's incredible.
I saw David Ortiz from
Dallas.
Sorry, I almost said Mesquite, but Texas. Texas Outlaws. He actually posted something that was like, the hater, like, imagine being so good that the haters think everything you do is scripted. And I know, right? And I read that, I was like, that's crazy, because that is literally what is happening. This guy is so good that people are thinking that it's drawn up. And it's like, I mean, he's been doing it for years at the highest of levels. I don't know why anyone would assume now, all of a sudden, at one of the not best leagues in the world, that he wouldn't be capable of doing or producing the same way he has against the best defenders in the world. So, I mean, I've been fortunate to grow up and watch him. I know, not trying to throw you under the bus, but you've had different, idols to look up to. But, I mean, I've had my whole life where I've watched, Messi and Ronaldo. And so to have him be so close and, obviously coming to San Diego with them getting an MLS team, hopefully he sticks around a couple of years so I can see him.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be fantastic. I'm trying to strap him up. I don't know if you know what that means, but I'm trying to lock him down. I want to play against him so I can show him that he's all right. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, Messi's the best to ever do it. No chance.
Yeah, no. And it's interesting because I was at the MLS game up in Los Angeles last night. I went up there with Philly Philemon, the play-by-play guy up in Ontario.
Yeah.
And he hosted me up there to the game up at LAFC in the Colorado Rapids. And right before the game started, the Open Cup game was on the screen with Messi playing. What was it? It's not Nashville. Who are they playing?
Cincinnati.
That's right. And Philly was commenting, as the game was progressing, and Cincinnati was leading, and Philly was commenting, see, look, Miami's now playing a quality team. They're now playing a quality team. And, and then,
sure enough.
And then with a minute left in extra time, the tying goal goes into the overtime. Both teams score. And then the penalty kicks, and they come out ahead, winning the game. I mean,
crazy.
I know. I mean, so I do have one thing to add to this, and this is maybe a little skeptical, but Is there any part of a story to say, and you sort of alluded to it a minute ago, is there any part of a story to say that the best player in the world, at least today, if not forever, the best player in the world today is playing in a league that is not the best league in the world? And so is he kind of being able to do these things because the competition is not the top quality that it could be?
I think so. It's kind of double-sided. I think that
That's what I'm thinking.
I think part of it is he's messy. He's so good. He's so crafty. He's so skillful. He just reads the game so well that it's easy for him. But that coupled with the quality of the MLS and his age, I don't know if he could have stayed somewhere else and had the same production that he's going to have at the MLS.
Okay.
So I don't know if he is the best in the world right now at this present day, but all the days before, he has been the best. I think him coming to MLS, he doesn't really have the chance to prove that as much anymore just because of those other factors. But it's also once again, he's Messi. So who knows? Maybe he does go to, another team, or maybe he did end up in, EPL and does the exact same thing he's doing now. We'll never know, but I mean, you got to stop the GOAT at some point, and no one's been able to do it from the best to what you wouldn't consider the best. So,
well, but the other thing, Drew, about what he's been doing, it's like you were saying about scripted. It's not just that he's scoring a goal during the course of the game. It's that he's scoring a goal at the time that he absolutely has to be scoring a goal.
Yes.
I mean,
Mr. Clutch.
It's clutch. It's absolutely freaking clutch.
Yeah. And somebody was mentioning it, one of the broadcasters was talking about, oh, look at him, he's just walking around, blah blah blah. And I'm like, but the people who don't understand is you would always love to see all 10 players on the field engaged in the game, working both sides. But at a certain point, when you have a player like that, once again, he's a little bit older now, but still, you even see him tracking back on defense every now and then. You'll see these little nuances in his games that people picked at. But he's still, in those moments, give him the ball. Just give the guy, you're going to make it happen. It doesn't matter, 119th minute, it really doesn't matter. So whether he's walking around and seems to not be involved, man, it's messy. You're going to tell the guy who's got, almost 50 trophies and I don't know how many goals to play a different way? Nah, you don't.
So how do you? So this is sort of just to throw it out there, as a coach, how do you coach a guy like that?
Man, I think it's one of those things you're more so managing. You're not really coaching at that point. I'm sure there's some things that you will say as a coach, but I think so. It's more so managing. You got to manage his minutes, manage his legs, manage his how he's feeling. Once again, you're not really teaching him the game. Right. You're not teaching him tactics. You're more so holding him accountable, keeping him sharp, making sure that, he's on the same page as the rest of the team about what, the philosophy is, about, the game plan, whatever it is. You don't coach him. You don't really coach him, I don't think.
So another thought that I'm having is oftentimes, of course, top world-class athletes in every sport tend to get a pedestal. A lot of people, especially young people, have a tendency to, put them on that pedestal and make heroes out of them, when it's like, hey, come on, the dude's an athlete. He's not Superman, right? But one of the things that's super cool about Messi that I think is awesome is his relationship with his wife. I mean, this dude has known his wife since they were kids.
Oh yeah.
Committed to her as a young man, has kept himself out of all of the temptations and crap, and maintained a solid relationship with his wife and being a family man. And that just says a whole lot about somebody in his position.
Yeah, I mean, you see with how social media is today. Everything can be you can be made famous like that. So, I mean, you've got a guy like, LeBron, who kind of is in that same regard where he doesn't really get mixed up in the media. And obviously, Messi's had his moments, but, like you said, I mean, he's just not only a great soccer player, but it's the other things that make him the GOAT as well. It's not about just what he does on the field, because there's been tons of great players. But they've all got their shortcomings. Whereas, like you said, you look at Messi and you can try and dig deep and try to find some stuff. But I mean, the guy is upstanding as they come. Yeah. I mean, what a role model. So I mean, he's phenomenal on the field. He's phenomenal off it. What a guy. Pick something wrong with him, I'll fight you on it.
So when you come to San Diego or Southern California here in the next week or two, or whenever it is going to be, is that going to be the move, or are you going to go back and pick up your goods and come back again, or is this the move?
No, I mean, you can see I got like nothing on my walls. We're getting ready to get out of here. It is obviously, bittersweet leaving. Of
course.
I still had some years on my contract, and, we bought a house out here and whatnot. So that side of the things, is a little kind of sucks, but man, I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there. I'm ready. Like I said, we're packing up and setting the GPS and planning our stops already and everything.
So, nice. So Drew, I understand that it's been made public that you got a 4-year contract with the San Diego Sockers.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Well, see, now that's huge, because I mean, so many players come and go on single-year contracts, and it's really cool to see that kind of commitment on both of you guys' sides, both you and Phil, to be able to come together on a 4-year contract. That's really cool. Yeah. Also, what's also very cool is you're going to be part of this transition into the new stadium that they're building up in Oceanside for season after this coming.
Yeah, it's been awesome to kind of watch. Shout out to Phil, best owner in the league, hands down. When you see a guy doing like that and investing in not only his team but the league, it's it makes you want to play for him even that much more. So yeah, man, I mean, what better way to send off Pechanga Arena than with another championship, and what better way to start off in a new arena than with another back-to-back. So but yeah, man, it's been awesome to see that the pictures, construction's underway. They just I don't think they finished the roof, but I think they finished the metal framework. So yeah, man, I'm fully invested. For me, I don't, with my family being involved and just the way I see my career, I'm not a 1-year contract anywhere type of guy. It's just not, I never would do that, I don't think. So yeah, man, I mean, that's like you said, I'm committed to the team. I'm committed to, the project moving forward. And it's nice to, know that they're, giving that same commitment back to me as well. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited for all things that are happening. It's an exciting time to be a Sockers fan and a Sockers player, to live in San Diego, to be in that community. So, while it is bittersweet, I'm a lot of people are like, man, why aren't you more mad about what happened with the Tropics? And I'm like, it's over. I mean, I can't even go yell at the owner in his face and nothing. I'm looking forward. I'm moving forward, and so that for me right now is focusing on my family and helping San Diego bring some more championships back home. So.
And you got your brother Gordy in Utica. You've got your brother Ian still hanging out in Milwaukee. So obviously the rivalries, friendships, community just keeps going forward.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, I don't think anybody from Florida, or there wasn't really any moves out to the West Coast this year.
I don't think so. No, I can't think of any.
I was trying to think of, a lot of the guys that I'm close with all stayed on the East Coast. So it'll be interesting. I won't be playing against them as frequently, but to have it be like, hey, we're going to meet in the final. I've already had those conversations with Breno from, he recently signed with Milwaukee, and Ricardo, both those guys I'm close with. So it'll be fun. It'll be really interesting. Obviously we'd all love to stay together. If there was one team that could have bought us all out, man, we would have went there, but that's not how things work. So it'll be a lot of fun to compete again, and do it on in a different conference, against different players. But yeah, man, those same old rivalries will still be those same old rivalries, man. So.
Well, Drew, the only time that you and I ever actually got a chance to meet was briefly outside in the parking lot at the Florida venue shortly before the finals. Just an opportunity just to say hello and shake hands and stuff. But I guess I'll see you on the 3rd of September in Upland, California for the Kings Cup. I'll be up there. What a marathon day. I mean, the dang thing starts at 7:30 in the morning and it doesn't plan on ending until 10:30 that night.
I love it, man. I love it. Give me all the games. I want all the games. I'll play them all.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get up there at 7:30 in the morning. It's an hour and a half drive from where I live.
Yeah.
So that's like an dark 30 wake up call, and I'm not sure I'm going to make that commitment. But I do plan on, once I get there, I do plan on hanging out until the end. So I'll see you up there.
Yeah.
I'll see you up there in Upland. I'm looking forward to having you here in San Diego, man. I love you. I love you to death, Drew. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Once again, thank you, for everything you do, covering the league and supporting the players and the teams. And, obviously now that we can, be on the same side of things,
Well, right. But see, the thing is, but the thing is, see, and people get tired of me saying this. I mean, people that know me get tired of me saying this, but, my second favorite team is whoever's playing against the Sockers. Who's ever on the field against the San Diego Sockers. That's my second favorite team. And the reason I say that, of course, is because we got to have competition for this sport to grow. So while you've been on the opposition, you've never been an enemy. And I feel that way about all the players. I really do. I mean, there's a couple of them that rub me a little weird personally, but
that's life, though, man. That's life.
But that's life, and that's and also that's not my issue. I mean, that's not my game. My game isn't about the personal deal. I don't know you guys personally. I know you guys on the field and in the game, and that's what really matters. And all that competition and the love and the passion for the sport. I just want to say thank you very much for joining me. This has been an hour. John Green told me I had to give you 30 minutes. And it turned out to be 53 minutes, but thank you very much, Drew. I appreciate you, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Take care, man.
Have a good one.
Study on Soccer signing off August 24th, 2023 with Drew Ruggles. Thanks for joining us. You can catch this on Study on Soccer Facebook, Study on Soccer on YouTube, and MASL Off the Wall Live. Thank you very much for joining us. It will be posted immediately on those formats. I appreciate you guys, and keep watching. I've got some other plans coming up soon. We will. Wow, wasn't that great? Wasn't that great? I mean, I just love the interaction. It's very cool. I appreciate you guys like crazy. Thank you too. I appreciate that. We'll just keep this coming and show our love and passion and friendships and relationships and keep this going on. Thanks. Signing off.